And it's done. The season is finally over, and we can enjoy the summer on view from the Ninian. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but we'll probably endure it. Cardiff City finished their championship campaign and their last championship campaign for at least the season with a 4-2 loss at Norwich yesterday on the final day of the championship season. Joining me to pick through the detritus of yesterday's game and talk about everything else that's happened in the last few weeks, Ben Price and special guest this week, Ryan March. Ben Price, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Wearing a new jacket, as you might be able to see. Club shop sale coming up. Trumps for Ben. Ryan March, you did specify that you wanted to be on the episode after relegation. I mean, we were relegated last week, but I guess you're here now. Can people expect your usual brand of positivity on the podcast?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like it was my calling after the last few years to be on the relegation episode. You know, the misery that I have probably caused people and the misery that Cardiff have caused me, it felt right. So glad to be here and looking forward to getting stuck into all the fun of Cardiff City.
Noticeable absentee Tom Phillips. He ran the Sydney Half Marathon today, and I believe he's about 3 or 4 beers deep at the moment. Isotonic beers, he does assure me. And also, he's been getting up at ridiculous o'clock to record the podcast in recent weeks. So I think he deserves a break. But I'm sure he'll be back when we do our season review over the next few weeks. Right, Ben
We've gone
Price.
down and Tom's gone running. I think, you know.
Listen, Ryan, I didn't want
podcasting.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it there. You put it out there. So it's up to the listeners to consider that. Ben's face, his raised eyebrows and silence suggest he agrees with you. I, for the record, don't agree with that. I think Tom has been a noticeable servant this season. He's been getting up at 4 a.m, Ryan. Do you actually want to get into this on the podcast?
No, I don't. I just wanted to have a little jab at him. At least it's not rugby this time.
Look, we all know what Tom's character's like. All I'll say is his absence when it matters shows. Like a lot of these players, at the big moments, he's just not shown up, has he?
He's the Yaku Mate of the
podcast. Just go for a little fucking run instead.
I didn't want to say Yaku Mate. Who did Tom noticeably back at the start of this season? It was Callum Robinson. And where was Callum Robinson yesterday and where's Tom Phillips today? Peas in a pod, those two. I'm not saying any more. Tom flew back, I believe, just to hang out with Callum Robinson yesterday. Ben, let's talk about Norwich. Quite a ridiculous game of football. I lost track of the score several times. I thought at one point we were 5-0 down. Turns out it was only 4-2. So I was watching the game, I can assure you, and I didn't even have a drink. So I have no excuses really, other than it being the last day of the season. Let's start with the team selection, Ben. Why did he play Will Alves?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's just a condition of the loan with Leicester. That is literally the only thing I can think of is he had to hit a certain amount of games to have one to go for. Because it just made no sense. Like Manswerk's been back in Holland for a while now, or the Netherlands for a few weeks. Like even players like Gutas and stuff aren't around the club at the moment because they're obviously leaving. So for Alves to play despite being on loan, I really don't understand that. That's probably the main surprise from that team lineup was he was involved.
Yeah, Ryan, we also saw, he persevered with people like Chambers. We saw Turnbull come in. The one surprise was Kapacio starting the game. Was it nice to at least see some youth starting the game with Kapacio?
Yeah, I would like to have seen more. I think if you look at that bench, I think Bagan, Ruben Colwill, probably, and Dylan Lawler deserved a start. I think Lawler's probably deserved games since that Villa game. I'm amazed they haven't given him a go, considering how poor we've been at centre half. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more. Kapacio is a welcome name. I know Craig Bellamy's a big fan. When he was at Penabont a couple of weeks ago, Ben was there as well. He singled out Kapacio as a player for the future and a player you try to sign at Burnley. So since then, I've been fully on the Kapacio train. So yeah, nice to see him play. Yeah, the Alves one boggled my mind as well. Just like, what's the point? Yeah. Do you know what I would have liked to have seen, Ben? Like on Sunday League, sometimes teams will like put all the names and positions in a hat.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen that.
I'd like to have seen that. What's the worst that could have happened?
Well, you could have ended up with Ethan Horvath in goals, and that would have been Oh, wait. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that, frankly. And I honestly feel like that's what's happened at sometimes this season because some of our players look really uncomfortable in the positions they're meant to be playing in. Callum Chambers looks largely uncomfortable playing football, which is quite a strange thing. But we'll get to that. We'll get to Callum Chambers' red card in a bit. Ben, bit of the story of our season, yesterday's game. I mean, we dominated the first 10, 15 minutes, didn't we? We had a lot of shots on target and we just didn't score a goal.
Yeah, it was a really weird one. The club, like Cardiff City, doing Cardiff City things. So I didn't watch the game live. I had commitments on, so we were driving to Llandaff Field for a lovely picnic for a friend's birthday. We're listening to Radio Wales.
This is really, truly end of season stuff here.
And we started really well. And I go, I can picture it now. We're right by, the traffic lights, by the big Tesco's, by Gabalfa roundabout.
Western Avenue, very good Tesco's. Used to be a big co-op.
So by there, I go, knowing us, we'll win this game. 3, 2, 1. And Norwich have scored. They cut back from a Swansea thing, and Norwich have taken the lead. It couldn't have been better timed if it was possible. And then by the time we made it to going round by Howell scored, we were 2-0 down. By the time I managed to find somewhere to park, it was 3-0 and we were down to 10 men. So it was the most Cardiff City performance of the season, I think.
Yeah, it was quite calamitous, I think. I mean, Ryan, the Núñez goal, which was the first goal, I joke about even Orthath ended up playing in goals, but honestly, I spent most of that game going, what the fuck is that guy doing? There were so many... He would come to punch things when it was easier to catch. He was making parried saves off his chest that were going straight back to their players. And the first goal is a prime example of just what he's doing, because I still can't figure it out. It's not a hard strike, particularly by Núñez. It is going towards the corner, but Horvath seems to stumble from a standing position and then stops trying to make the save. It's truly bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a goal we've conceded way too many times this season, which is being done out wide, and someone's just put it was sort of an aimless ball across the middle of our box and it's missed our whole defence and someone scored. But yeah, Horvath just all games just stood still. Like, we'll get onto the free kick, but probably it's a really good free kick and a really good position, but he doesn't even look like he tries to go for it.
No.
He looks really uninterested. He looks like a goalkeeper who's doing a warm-up but doesn't want to get muddy before the game starts. As someone who used to play goal himself back in my teenage years, I would just never try in the warm-up because I didn't want to get absolutely muddy before the game started. So that's the sort of vibe I got. But yeah, he's been really, really poor the last few weeks. And him and Luton, the distant dreams of them getting promoted from the Championship together seem like a long old time ago now.
Well, I've often wondered what happened if you played Cal the Dragon in goal for Cardiff City. And I think yesterday was the closest we'll ever get to finding out.
What I will say about Cal the Dragon is I think he saves that first goal. Because it's not a hard thing to say. Like, he would make it look like he's made a meal of it, but he'd somehow get a touch on it. He dived for the free kick as well. Yeah, I've watched
he did dive
videos.
Yeah.
He'd have dived for it. He wouldn't have got anywhere near it, and Plant Pot FC would have gone 3-0 up. But still.
Exactly. Yeah. But still, I mean, Norwich did go 3-0 up quite quickly. Let's talk about Callum Chambers, Ben Price. I've said all season, I'm convinced that we're seeing the worst of Callum Chambers because he's never really had to play much football before. He's been a sub or he's been in teams that kind of play on the front foot, so he doesn't really have to defend. And I think that showed yesterday because I just don't really know what he was doing for that foul. Gets the wrong side of him. It's the last game of the season, Cal. Use your head. And he pulls him down. Did he really need to do that? I don't think so. Do you?
No, there's absolutely no need. We're already down. Like, if he scores, tidy, at least we stay with 11 men on the field and have a better chance. But for some reason, he did. Who was it? The Man United player did it against Solskjaer against Newcastle in like 1997.
Yeah,
cynically side him down. He just thought, I'll do that and sort of be the hero and sort of take one for the team when there was absolutely no need to do it.
Yeah, good time to do it, Cal.
Yeah. Now's the time to show you really care. It was just stupid.
It was the sort of tackle I do in 5 or 7 aside when I clearly get done because I'm not good enough or quick enough to play on the turn. So I just try to take command with me. That's exactly the challenge.
I either grab them by the waist and have a laugh about it, or I just clip their heels.
Yeah.
He sort of did both, with hands on shoulders and clip the ankle at the same time.
Yeah,
it's just stupid, just beyond stupid. And I still think like a lot of people are sort of saying good riddance, he's been shit. There was times this season where Chambers was actually really solid for us, like especially when he moved into midfield, sort of shored us up quite nicely. And it's a shame that by the looks of things, that's going to be his last act in a Cardiff City shirt because I can't see him playing League One next year.
No, he's on too much money. What I will say though is it's the first time I've ever sung cheerio at my own player. There was a few shouts of "We'll never see you again" towards him as he left the pitch. Gallows humour fully in effect yesterday at Carrow Road. And then I guess from that, Ryan, we've talked about it already. The kind of free kick, but it was a good free kick, wasn't it, by their player? He hits that well.
Yeah, super free kick, puts it right in the right place, right out of reach of Mr. Tickle. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen maybe a bit of endeavour to get there, because you never know. You never know. All it can take is the tip of a finger to sort of put that onto the post. But there we are. Clearly, he was on the beach already. My question is, Ethan Horvath, American, did he vote? Do you reckon he's a Donald Trump guy?
Oh.
Because he's from Colorado, isn't he? Yeah,
quite liberal. But he's from a ranch. He's from Highlands Ranch in Colorado.
Yeah, that does scream maybe a little bit Trump to me.
Yeah.
If he was from Denver, I'd go complete liberal. They love smoking weed in Denver. Maybe that's why he's so bad in goals. He smokes a lot of weed.
Yeah.
But apparently, no. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to assume people's politics on this podcast. But I will assume the worst with Ethan Horvath because he's a shit goalkeeper.
But do you think
goalkeeping great again?
Yeah, I was going to say that's exactly what I was going to go with. In like the 90s, when the keepers wore caps with the sun in their eyes, he came out with a cap that said "Make goalkeeping great again."
Yeah, that would be
ironic. It'd be ironic of him to wear it because he's really taking it similar to the Trump presidency, I suppose.
Yeah,
make America great again. He's absolutely destroying it. Even Horvath has destroyed goalkeeping.
He's putting tariffs on our defence. Yeah. I don't even really know what that means, but
I enjoyed it either way.
Sounds relevant.
Yeah. Excuse me, Ben. The game was all but done when Borja signs 2 goals since November, pops up with his 3rd goal since November. At that point, Ben, when you were having a picnic in Lander Fields, and assume listening via radio or other means, did you think it was going to get embarrassing?
Yeah, I was convinced. I was still in the car at that point when he made it 3-0. I was
how short was this car journey? Because there was a short period of time they scored all their goals in.
It was just finding the place to park was a nightmare. I mean, if we're going to get onto it, like the organisation around Lander Fields is outrageous.
Car park has been a problem for years. We will admit that. Cardiff
Council need to address that as much as Cardiff City need to address the defensive issues. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was going to be a 5 or 6er. I thought, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. So yeah, it had the potential to be an absolute stinker, especially the way our season's gone. I thought this could be a proper big scoreline here. Something that's like, I thought the crowd would enjoy it. Like the City fans would have a great time there, but anyone listening to it would be fuming.
Just having a look on the Highlands Ranch Wikipedia page. Can't seem to see who they voted for as on the whole. So we'll leave it as a neutral kind of place at the moment.
RFK
Jr. Ryan. Obviously, 3 goals in quick succession. I know Callum Chambers has been sent off, but the goals just split us open. And it kind of really showed how soft our underbelly has been this season, isn't it? We basically turned over and let them tickle us for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's the same old story that it's been. We're just so easy to score against. We're so easy to play against. It's a great pass through, but we give him the gaps and the space to find that pass. Yeah. It's just slow. It's unorganized. It's a team who don't know what the hell they're doing, and it's been our downfall time and time again. On the subject of did I think we were going to get hammered? I thought we would, because I literally said on my podcast last week that I think we've only been hammered once this season. We've been quite unlucky in a lot of games, or we've lost games due to bad game management and the amount of games we've led in this season, etc. So I thought, oh well, we're bound to get absolutely hammered here, because the only game we've really been hammered in is that Leeds game.
You did. I was listening to it and did realise that you forgot the Burnley game at the start of the season. But
I mean, fair enough. To be fair,
so far, like
yeah,
so
I feel like a lifetime ago. I did the podcast after that. I was in America working, and I remember then saying it was next, because I think everyone came in and be like, "Oh, we played all right." I was like, "We literally just lost 5-0."
And we lost 4-1 to Hull as well. Sorry, not Ipswich.
Yeah, any more? Do you want to throw in? Or
No, that's the only other one that came to mind.
Okay, there we are.
But still listen to Alternative Wales. Yeah. It is a great listen. The rest of them know what they're on about.
Fucking hell.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. Yeah, I expected the worst. And I was trying to think of what's one step up from going down with a whimper. Because I guess a whimper would have been like a pretty tame 2-0 defeat. And we were heading towards another level or two up from a whimper. I guess we maybe brought it back down to a whimper with the 2 second half goals, but I'll leave you to ponder that.
I am thinking about that quite a lot. What is a whimper? What's what?
Going down in disgrace. I mean, we could have gone down in a blaze of glory. A nice 3-0 win would have been good. But alas.
Yeah, alas, I mean, it's not the Cardiff City way, is it? We never confound expectations. We usually conform to them and crumble while doing so. Let's talk about Yusuf Salik, Ben. Probably the brightest spark from yesterday's game. There's a man who cares and likes to pat his badge, but I still don't think he's going to be here next season. Second half was all about him from a Cardiff perspective. He absolutely bullied their number 6, didn't he? And won a penalty. I think their number 6 tried to take him down on the halfway line, absolutely missed, which was fantastic, and then gave away a needless penalty. But my question is, how good was it? My second question is, Ben, was it a dive? Because some people think it was a dive.
He's a monster, and he just how you can be that strong and just ride that like he did. If he had scored from there, like you're looking at one of the best goals we've ever scored in the Championship. Mm-hmm. It was just ridiculous to run from where he came from with the ball like that. I love him. He's such an important thing. But like, I was seeing him do that, watch the highlights back, and like seeing him do that, and I'm thinking, yeah, now's not the time to do that because we want people to think you're shit, so we keep you for the next season.
Yeah, but we could have dropped him really.
Yeah, you look at what he's doing there, and there's not a chance teams in the Championship aren't looking at him going, yes, please, because he is everything you want. He's strong, he likes getting on the ball, and he's good in the air. He's made for the Championship, absolutely made for it. And you can see like his goal scoring record. What's he on? Is it 8 goals in Championship? In
nine goals. 9 goals since he's joined us in 20 games.
Oh, right, yeah. And that was...
22 games. Sorry, 22 games.
One of them was
in a team that's like, he's come at when we're at sort of at our lowest ebb as well. It's sort of like 2 wins since February. Oh, no, since January, isn't it? 2 wins since January. He's come in and made such a huge difference there and scored those goals. He's a monster. And if we can keep him next year, I'm a lot more confident about going up. But I think every club in the Championship will be looking at him going, yes, please, because he's just phenomenal.
His agent's already been posting about how good he is on Instagram, and Salik's been reposting it. I don't know if that's a come and get me plea, Ryan, but do you think we're going to be able to keep him?
If we do keep him this summer, then I think what might put some teams off is he's on a long contract, isn't he? I think until 2029. Yeah. And we've paid a bit of a fee for him. So we're not going to let him go too cheap unless there was a clause in the contract. But I think if we do keep him and he starts well next year and he's on 10, 12 goals by January, then we'll definitely lose him at that point. But yeah, I guess that the only security is that long contract, which means someone's going to have to at least pay for him. Which, yeah, I think everyone will be for sale, won't they, this summer? I don't think anyone is above being for sale. So yeah, I'd love to keep him. I think, it's rare that we find a striker and own a striker who has so much about him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's young. He's got a huge ceiling. So I guess credit where it's due for whoever picked him out, because we've signed many duds from the continent over the last few years, and he very much isn't a dud. Just imagine if he was in that Warnock team with Mendes, Lang, and Hoylett on the wings, feeding him.
Sure, a hat trick every game.
Yeah.
Omar Reza was the man who signed him. Famously, he said that he convinced the board to sign him. So.
I'm talking about the scout. He wouldn't have been watching Swedish Division 2, would he? Let's be honest.
But I know he did anything but manage the football club, apparently. Yeah. So he might well have been doing that. Ben, he got a second goal. Obviously, the penalty was lovely. Stood up Angus Gunn. Put it to the right of him on Angus Gunn's final farewell for Norwich. He always seemed to play a team who was saying goodbye to their keeper on the last day of the season. And then he scored a second goal, which looked like a missed kick, but it was a lovely finish, wasn't it?
I don't think it was a missed kick. I think it's a really, really good finish.
No, in the moment it looked like a missed kick because the way it spins off. But I think you're right.
Yeah, it's it showed everything good about him, and just the desire. Even then, straight trying to get the ball. I mean, the game's done. We all know it's done, but there's something about him. And I think that's what the fans have really taken to him. Like, his first game was the South Wales derby, wasn't it? And you can see he's getting straight into it.
Yeah.
And you're there going, oh, I like him. He gets it. He feels like the perfect Cardiff City player come along at just the wrong time for us. He's got that little screw loose. He's a battler. He's got everything needed to be like a real cult hero. It's just a shame. I don't think he's going to be around long enough to really cement that, because I think he could be an all-timer if he does well for us, if we are in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say about the second goal is that he ran towards us with the ball, went to pat the badge on his chest, and kind of went and didn't. And I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. But he did it after the game. And I was with a friend at the game, Matt Hale, who works in law, and he said that is a legally binding contract when you pat your pat your badge, in to show a level of commitment. So I'm hopeful that he's going to be sticking around next season. We'll talk more about the post-match stuff shortly. Ryan, Shane Duffy, a man who I don't know how is still playing football, because he's one shit, but also must be 47 years old now. Scored against us, because he always scores in games where he plays against us, doesn't he?
Yes, and I think it's just perfect, isn't it? It's a perfect way to go out of the championship, one of the all-time championship greats, for and against us, sealing our fate, and relegating, adding salt into the relegation wound. Shane Duffy, thank you.
Yeah. If he's not scoring for us, he's scoring against us. Ben,
he's the first player I can see, Shane Duffy, looking on transfer market, to have a better record for us than against us. And that's a rare thing to happen for us, which is even more impressive because he's never played for us.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Yaku Mete, on the other hand, better record against us than for us.
Yeah.
He hates scoring goals for us, Yaku Mete. When he scores, he famously looks annoyed about it. So, like the Preston goal, he's like, I can't believe everyone was kept Cardiff up. Fuck's sake. And he showed that again yesterday by going to celebrate Reading's new ownership. Anyway, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Ben, we talked about the youth at the start. Obviously, people like Davies started the game ahead of them, but by the end of the game, we had people like Lawler and I'll probably say his name right, Nyakwa. That guy, the guy who came on at right back, and no one could say his name. Not even the guy who was doing the Norwich PA could say his name right. I did set myself some kind of task to learn it, but I didn't. So apologies if I butchered that. I guess the question is, Ben, why haven't we been playing these players more? I mean, Lawler, he looks like a man already. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Lawler's the only one I'm looking at going, he should have been in and around the squad a lot more, especially after we saw what he did against Villa. Like you said right before, he's been screaming out he should have been in there well before that. But the rest of them, I don't think it's the right place to put them in. I get how bad it's been, but fucking hell, you tank their confidence. But I think it is the perfect game to put them in. But I'd have liked to have seen them start. I think that is the only thing. I think my prediction of Kapacio sort of replacing Trent in 2 years' time at Real Madrid might be a bit premature, but I'm still not saying it's completely dead yet, because he didn't do that bad. It was just a tough game for him. But yeah, there's a lot to be excited about next year in there. You've got King, Colwell coming back, potentially Kieran Evans from Newport. Who knows? That could happen.
Maybe he'll make his debut for us. I don't even know if he's played for us. I think he's
played once or twice.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to be excited about that youth, and hopefully sort of, you look at, was it 8 players in and around the squad this yesterday from the under 21s will come from the academy. Hopefully now next year they're given a lot more of a say, and we're relying less on sort of mercenaries coming in who just don't really care, because I think there was a lot of that yesterday. Players that just didn't like to be asked. I think Robertson was shite. I think his head's already looking at how he can get a move back to the championship. Alves obviously on loan. Sort of, was he injured when he came off, or was it just?
I don't know. I know we took Turnbull off because of the red card, and then I think there's some suggestion on Twitter that Alves and O'Dowda had a bit of a falling out over one of the goals, and I think they just took him off. I don't know though. I didn't see that. I didn't even notice that we were making a substitution at the time.
So it's a weird one with him, but like players like Turnbull, like it's someone that I think for his sake needs to move on, and we've got players here now that I'd rather see ahead of him as well. The move's just not worked for him since he came from Celtic. So there's lots of players there that I think. How many of that starting 11 tomorrow do you think we'll see? August 3rd? Not many.
Well, if on the starting 11, I think we'll see Fish. I think we'll see potentially Rolls, Ashford, and maybe Salic, and maybe Kapacio. The rest I can see going. Even O'Dowda, I'd love him to stay. And then I think when you look on the bench, like the defence we ended the game with, I would love that to be our starting three. If we start with a three at the back next year, if you've got Lawler, Fish, and Bagan as a back three, like say what you want about Joel Bagan, but the guy comes on and he puts himself into tackles and he doesn't shy away from anything. And I think we've cried out for players over the last year who want to just put their foot in and they want to be a bit fucking committed to playing football. And Bagan does that. I think when you look at people like Alex Robertson, who for all the kind of pomp and for all the ceremony that came with him, he's played for Man City, he was so good for Portsmouth last year. He's flattered to deceive this season.
Yeah.
He's been good in some games, but he spent most of the season toiling in the midfield and not really getting his foot on the ball. If you've got people like Bagan, if you've got people like Joel Colwell coming back, they need to start because they're just going to do the basics, which is what we expect as football fans, which is fly into tackles and try and win the ball. Mm-hmm. So I think, I would like to see those three kind of start the season next year in defence. Ryan, I've got to say it. There were times where we actually looked quite good in attack yesterday. I know it was the kind of last day of the season towards the end of the game when we were marauding forward with Colwell, Ashford, with other players kind of getting down the wings and trying to put crosses in. It looked quite good at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout the season we've looked okay at times. It's been putting together that's been our issue, and we've looked better when those young lads are there and they're linking up. And it does give you some sort of hope for next year. I think there's a few in there, like talking about some of the players you've mentioned there, and maybe someone like Alex Robertson would benefit from a proper coach, a proper manager who can galvanize it. I don't know who is just maybe not very good or maybe hasn't got the right attitude, but then you got to think, well, have they not had the right attitude because of the way the club's been managed and the way it's been coached? So it's like, well, if you bring in a good manager that can galvanize the squad, or some of those players all of a sudden, raising their level? I'd rather be winning games in League One with a core of academy lads than doing whatever the fuck we've done for the last 2 or 3 seasons in the Championship. And that might be a bit of a bold statement, but I'm looking forward to next season all of a sudden. And I'm sure that enthusiasm and expectation will be dashed in the next few weeks when whatever they do with the manager or whatever they do with the organisation of the club. But there's a core there, isn't there? And those attackers, Ashford, Colwell, Isaac Davies obviously didn't play yesterday, but he's another one that makes you sort of go, okay, there's something there. Let's give it a go rather than half-arsing some of these players' careers, and then they go off and maybe never kick on because we don't give them a proper chance. Just give them a go, and what I say, what's the worst that could happen? We could get relegated to League Two, which is pretty bad.
That could also be a laugh, though.
It could also be a laugh, Ben. Think of the away days.
Yeah. Oh, no, we're already playing Bradford. Ben, I think, we've been supporting this club for too many years now. But if we're going down into League One, how much more enjoyable will it be for us as fans if we're seeing, our academy prospects potentially playing games? And I think most fans would buy into it. If we end up finishing 8th, 9th to 12th, and it's not the best season, but it's been a season where we've brought through all these youth players and they've been the core of the squad, that'll be enjoyable for us, won't it?
Yeah, and that's what's missing, isn't it? There's no connection between the current squad and the squad of the last few years and the fans. I feel like for the most part, there's a lot of these you won't remember played for us in a few years. I think it'll be one of those who are going, oh, Christ, do you remember him? And I feel like we've sort of fallen into that. Whereas when we've been at our best and sort of like the times have been enjoyable, there's been a connection between the fans and the players. And that's when it's sort of the club's at its best is no matter what goes on behind the scenes, you can sort of not forgive it, but you can ignore it for a point because there's a connection between the fans and the players on the pitch. The fans are behind the players and they definitely get behind the youth and sort of players from the local area a lot more. And if we can do that in League One and really build something special and sort of make the club feel a bit more ours again, I think that's so important for the success. Like, I feel like we've got no control. Like, as much as people want to say these to going down and protesting outside the stadium, we'll do this, we'll do that. Realistically, with the state and what's going on behind the scenes, it's not going to do a lot. we need to support the boys as much as possible on the field, despite what's going on behind the scenes. And it's a lot easier to do when they are players you relate to, have come from the local area, understand the traditions, the history of the club, and just care about it as well. I think that's huge, because how many of these boys do you reckon truly care? Of that squad that we've got played this year, how many of them do you think genuinely care and will miss Cardiff City next year when they've moved on? I don't think there's many.
I won't miss it. When I've moved on to a new podcast, I won't miss it. No, I'm joking. So basically what you're saying, Ben, is that any player who starts in our starting 11 should know what a Clark's pie is.
Yeah, I think that is the true test, isn't it?
And know what the difference is between a Clark's pie and a Victoria Park pie, because people often get them confused.
I think that's the important. It's always looking for the mark at the bottom of the tin, isn't it? I think if they get the pie and don't lift it up and have a look underneath
and say Clark pie on it, then
transfer list.
All right, Ben, you're still in with the podcast next year. Ryan, question for you: should they know what the difference between a Lowe's pop is? I don't know what other Cardiff things I can think of really off the top of my head.
I guess.
Oh, where do they get the Welsh cakes from in the market?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously only one, which is Bakestones.
Spot on, mate. You're all right to come back on the pod next year.
Come on.
I have concerns over Tom Phillips with this regard, because he is.
Yeah.
So you won't know anything.
Yeah.
You won't know
if he says Tony's, then I think we've got a conversation to have.
Oh yeah. If he went Tony's,
listen, cover your ears. Cover your ears. You can't know this. I do think I was just at the game at Carrow Road yesterday, and I think it was one of the funniest away games, to come back and round off yesterday's discussion. I think it was one of the funniest away games I've ever been to in a long time. Oliver Rees, who has tweeted us, was behind me. He decided that Chris Willock was the man to have the magic hat yesterday. When everyone else was singing Yusuf Salek, we want you to say, he was singing that about Chris Willock, which I thought was hilarious. We celebrated their goals probably more than the Norwich fans celebrated their goals. There was a guy in the front row of the Norwich stand who was the designated pedo for the day, and he got an absolute kick in. And what I will say is, at the end of the game, when we were leaving, their fans gave us a bit of applause. It was one of those nice respect moments where their fans kind of applauded us out, because I don't think they really... I think for the first 10 minutes we sang We're All Going on a League One tour. About 15 minutes in, their fans thought it would be hilarious to tell us that we're going down. And obviously at that point, we'd already been singing about going down. So it was completely wasted. And our fans just really enjoyed it. So it was one of those. And I don't think that would have happened if we hadn't sacked Reza. I imagine if we had Reza in charge yesterday... Vitriolic, toxic. There would have been people probably trying to get on the pitch and all that kind of stuff. But it was just fun yesterday. What I will say is, after the game, obviously the players came over to kind of applaud us. There was a couple of noticeable things happening. You might have seen it on Twitter. Rocco Simic brought every match issue shirt he'd been given and just made a point of throwing them into the crowd. My friend Lee,
gutted were you that you didn't get one, Ben?
I was going to say I was gutted, but my friend Lee got one. He's been
nice.
taking his boy to more football games this year. He lives up in the north, lives in Sheffield, and he travelled down yesterday to Norwich for the last game of the season. And his boy Isaac, I think he's 4 or 5 years old. I saw a photo of him after the game. He had one of Simic's shirts on. So I'm pleased that someone who deserves it got one, because I don't really deserve it, but he deserved it.
Could have gone in with your Jack Simpson one.
Yeah, I'll have a swap for you.
Throwing it to him. No, you fucking have it.
I don't want it anymore. I do have a Gutas one. So
actually, I tell you what, I think I've mentioned this on the pod before, but my best ever, I finally got it with me in Cardiff. My best ever bit of Cardiff City merchandise that I got at the final day of a season is right next to me. Bear with me.
The thing I don't get with the Simic one is where did he get? Oh my god! Is
that
Russell Slade's hat?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can't quite see it. There's a blacked out RS. Can you see it there?
Oh, yeah, you can see that. That's coming through.
So, yeah, last game of the season, his last game as manager, Bolton home, if I recall, would have been, what would that have been? 2017, 18, 16, 17, 17, 18?
17, I think, yeah.
No, it would have been 15, 16, I think, because it was 16, 17 was when Warnock took over halfway through. Anyway, I digress. I said before the match, I said to my mate, I'm going to get Russell Slade's hat today. And they were like, no, you're not. I was like, I'm going to get Russell Slade's hat. Walked down the front as they do the lap of the ground. I was like, Russell, can I have your hat? And he was like, what? I was like, can I have your hat? I was like, I'm serious. And he was like, all right. And he frisbeed into the crowd and I grabbed it. And Yeah, there it is.
That is class.
That is so good.
Russell
Have you
Slade's hat.
resized it, or has it stayed in the same size as his head?
No, I've resized it. I should have kept it in the same. I remember. I've worn it a couple of times. Yeah, I've worn it a couple of times to see if I can get the genius to go in. But all I've done is lose my hair since, weirdly.
Ben, any good memorabilia that you've got?
I don't know what I've got here at the moment. I've got a lot of stuff up in the attic, but nothing that I've got no niche like that. I had. Do you know the red row with the collar shirt?
Beautiful.
My uncle managed to get one from a preseason friendly that had like a random name set, not like the name set, but like the friendly, which like a random font on the back with number 12. Nice. So it wasn't even like it was a sub one, but that's about as good as I've got. Yeah,
last day of Ninian Park. I'd wanted all my years was something off a player, and I finally got one off Paul Parry, and it was a lovely quarter zip jacket, and I thought great, but it just said sub on the. I was just like, for fuck's sake.
I know what I have got. I don't know if I've still got them upstairs. Do you know when we had Causeway Sports?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I've got Anthony Pilkington's zip, 3/4 zip, and I've got Aaron Gunnarson's, and this is the bizarre one, vest.
Is that because you went to the shop and just bought them out the big tubs that day for like a pound? I've got so much stuff for that.
There was a ton of stuff there. I was going through like 17 that's Gunners, 13 that's Pilks. But yeah, that's about as good as I've got with that. But Paul Parry, that is Paul Parry.
Yeah, just a shame it didn't have his initials on it, but there we are.
I've got Peter Thorne and Andy Campbell's training shirts from the season we got promoted. And they've got their numbers on them. So they've got the Football League numbers 11 and 9 on it. So it's my own personal 9/11, if you will. And then
2 towers of Cardiff promotion.
2 totemic towers of Cardiff promotion. And then this week, I'm going to do a TikTok on this. I've got a pair of match issue Cardiff shirts that were never worn in any game because of kit clashes and things like that. So they've got all the numbering on them, and they're proper football shorts. They're proper match issue shorts. They've got like the inner pant bit that not many shorts have, but they were never worn because we had kit clashes too many times. So I'll do a TikTok on that and talk about how I tried to do an investigation into finding out where they were. Look at that, me driving people to our TikTok channel. That's professional, isn't it, Ben?
Can't wait.
What I will say about the end of the game, obviously there was the players all came over. Simic threw his shirts in the crowd. 5 of them, I think it was, which was fantastic.
One was an away shirt, which I don't get. Where he obviously bought that with him because we were wearing the blue kit. It was where the away kit came from. I don't know.
He had 2 blue shirts, 2 light blue shirts, and the grey shirt. So it was every shirt he's been given if he's been in a squad. That's what I assume. Because he's been in and around squads all season. I can't remember the exact squads he's been in, but he's obviously just kept them on at the end of the year. I'm just going to throw these into the crowd. And he came over and, and then he just kind of walked off angrily. I mean, the video's on our TikTok now as well. So tiktok.com/VFT Ninian. Look at me. I'm again driving people to the social channels. Salic kind of got most of the chance saying that we wanted him to stay. He was stood at the front applauding us. Callum O'Dowda, what I will say, but he went and sort of stood by himself. I don't know if that was him distancing himself metaphorically and physically from the football club and the rest of the team. I don't know. It was quite somber, but it was a fun end to the game.
I did see that someone put on Twitter that O'Dowda or Colwell told O'Dowda to fuck off.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
I don't know what, or there we are, but yeah, that was an interesting one.
And that's it for all the stuff on the football pitch this year. 46 games, Cardiff City down to League One. We'll do a proper season review, a proper pick through the bones of everything over the next few weeks. Obviously, we've got some exciting away trips to look forward to. Mansfield, Burton, Stevenage, I think we're playing for the first time. We've got Bradford coming up, Doncaster, our old mates from the Keep Moat, and all that stuff. So we'll talk about that over the next few weeks. But now we go to Twitter, twitter.com/VFT Ninian for all your tweets about yesterday's games. Reece Spear asks, favourite chant from today? We want you to stay seemed to fall on deaf ears, sadly. I still think Mansfield away, ole, ole, League One. We're all going on a League One tour. It was fantastic. We're going down. We'll come straight back up. That was pretty good because I think it's madness, really. We're not coming straight back up. Who are we having a laugh about that? About 2 questions about Simic, Ben Price. First one was from Bluebird John. 2 million for Simic. No game time. The side is shit. What's the deal there? Got to be something dodgy. He cannot be any worse than the gang we're still supporting. And then John T.M. Williams says, what's your take on Simic? We buy and don't play. I'm still wobbling my head over it as it's not the first time. Ben, what's your take on it? Was he just a club signing?
Yeah, I think they've openly said he's one for the future sort of thing. He's not ready, and there's been a few managers now looking and gone, just not quite yet. So I'm not too sort of worried about that. What I will say is sort of people saying he's not better, he can't be worse than what we've currently got. I think the one era we were actually doing all right in is strikers. I feel like for the first time in years, we've got Callum Robinson and Salic, who are brilliant. Like, you can't find fault with them sort of on the pitch. So
you can find fault with Callum Robinson
on the pitch.
There we go.
I said on the pitch before, but you just wanted to make sure your 442 article ended the season right, didn't you?
Listen,
okay. But yeah, no, I think I'm gutted for him that I think he should have come on just a little bit of I think like Glenn said, throw him a bone, just give him a chance to say, look, there is a future here for you. I can understand his frustration, but if the managers don't, or the people in charge don't think he's ready, then he's not ready. It doesn't matter how good he is for the under-21s. The under-20, we've seen the jump between Championship and under-21 football is massive. You can't really take what's going on there as sort of an indication of how well they're doing in the Championship. Reindorf, Etienne Belaconia, years ago. There's plenty of players like that. So give him time to see what happens next year.
Was Belaconia a real footballer? I'm still not sure.
I literally I've got his Wikipedia page up now, Velikonja, because I thought Simic is a modern day Velikonja, isn't he? From the former Yugoslavia, signed with a lot of fanfare, flattered to deceive.
We love doing that though. Andrea Ferretti, all those years ago, recommended by Sir Alex Ferguson. Bless you, Ryan. Recommended by Sir Alex Ferguson. I don't think he played a game for us.
He played in Spurs away in the replay. I remember that.
He did.
Because I loved the idea of him as a young, as a young guy, as a young kid. I used to think that, an Italian striker with cool hair like he had. I was obsessed by the idea of him. But again,
well, I've got bad news for you on that front, Ryan. He's bald now.
No way.
He's bald.
Do you know what?
If you go on his transfer market profile, he's bald.
I wouldn't have put money on him. I wouldn't have put money on that. He had a good head of hair.
He got given a hat from Russell Slade as well.
Yeah, clearly.
Scored almost 50 goals in the Serie. Oh no, more than that actually. Scored 80 goals in Serie C in Italy. So he was good somewhere. He was good.
Found his level. He found his level. Same height as Velikonja, 5'10".
How tall is Rocco Simic?
Oh, should we have a quick look?
If he's 5'10", it's Illuminati. Yeah. Illuminati confirmed.
Apparently he's 6'3", but I've seen photos of him.
No, absolutely not. I saw him yesterday. He's not that tall.
He's definitely not 6'3". No way. According to Wikipedia.
Let's go back to Twitter. Jim, the Welsh Wombat, says just a massive sense of relief that it's all finally over. Feeling kind of positive about next season and would personally give Rambo a shot if he wants it. Think he'd work wonders with the young crop coming through. Thoughts on Yaks buggering off to watch Reading yesterday? We'll talk about that in a bit. Oliver Rees had a lovely day watching the game with Ben, who I have to apologise for my constant chanting for Chris Willock. Top day out, big summer ahead. Personally enjoyed it. I think Chris Willock deserves more chance. Mainly get out of our club. Giggsy, the agents are out already. What are the chances Salic is a Cardiff player by the end of the summer transfer window? Also, Kapacio looked a lot more settled when Lawler came on. Goes back to what was mentioned about a consistent backline. Youth has to be the way forward. Brandon Arthur says, will we ever have a statistically worse manager than Ramsey? Well, that's a bit high.
Dean Whitehead's got to be worse, isn't he?
Yeah, he lost his game, didn't he? Lost 5-2.
Yeah, Ramsey lost 3, though, didn't he? No, Ramsey got a point.
He drew twice.
Yeah, Ramsey drew twice.
Drew against Oxford and West Brom.
I thought we lost to West Brom for some reason.
No, he was unbeaten. He was unbeaten before yesterday.
Yeah.
Fucking Jack.
Giggsy, let's also talk owners scenario. Mike Ashley bids to take over VT, sells up. CCS becomes the Sports Direct Stadium or Fraser Arena. 3 pushes for promotion to the Premier League. Success at the 4th attempt. We don't spend big, but stay up. And he caveats this with, I'll stop sniffing glue, I promise. You said it, mate. Gwyn Jones says, did Anik lose his arms? Barely moves. I think he means Horvath. Did Horvath lose his arms? Barely moved, let alone lift his arm for all those goals. Seriously, please watch him in the highlights. I think you should watch him in the highlights, Gwyn. You've got the wrong player there. But it's true. There were some saves as well where he came out and there was one where it was a relatively tame shot and he just kind of chests it out into the Norwich player's path. And it's like, you could have just put an arm on it and put it out or caught it because it wasn't that hard.
In Gwyn's
Pep
defense,
says,
though, I'd say that I can almost guarantee that when those shots happened, Anik didn't dive to save them either. So he's not wrong.
he isn't wrong, actually. Anik didn't do anything to save those goals yesterday. Fair point, Gwyn. I apologise for getting it wrong. Pep said, it's been said countless times, and I can't understand why Tan is so against. We need a director of football where Rambo says the previous clubs he's won leagues, FA Cups, etc., all had directors of football. Surely the board have to go. Tan needs to get rid of Dalman and Chu. Businessmen is all they are. The ironic thing is, and I know we've talked about the director of football thing a lot, is that Kotrick, or Kotrick, however you say it, they have a director of football, and they've also been relegated. So I do just think, well, I don't know if they did get relegated. They are facing relegation this weekend. I don't know if it's just Tan is the problem or if there was more that needs to be done to kind of get a director of football in at Cardiff. James Marshall, which League One ground are you most excited about visiting next season, Ben?
I think St James's Park.
The real St James's Park.
The real one, exactly.
Now,
Ryan?
Just on that, because Exeter high up my list, one of them is St James's and one of them is St James.
Oh.
So I don't know which way around it is. That's the way you can tell the difference. But I also don't know which one is which. Anyway, yeah, that's up there. I think Valley Parade after yesterday, Bradford. That'll be good.
Exeter is St James Park.
There we are, and then Newcastle is St James's.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What am I excited about? I'm excited about Burton.
Again.
I hear they serve the Alhambra de Madrid, the beautiful Madri. They're one of the only places that imports it from Madrid into their local town. But I'm also really excited about potentially Leyton Orient, but also Stevenage, just because it's Ryan. We did Stevenage this year, didn't we? Because we thought,
yes, yeah,
we'll go watch them play Wrexham because we're never going to play Stevenage. Whoopsie!
Yeah. I won't be rushing back to Stevenage. I can tell you that.
No, I won't be either.
Yeah, Orient would be great. Orient's up there for me. That's one of the only London grounds I've not done now. London Football League grounds. I think it's just them and Wimbledon. So I'm also hoping Chesterfield get promoted in the playoffs because my girlfriend's from 10 minutes down the road there. So I've always thought, wouldn't it be fun when Cardiff play Chesterfield in a cup game? But turns out it's probably going to be a league game. So there we are.
I'm also excited about Bradford. That's a proper ground.
Yeah.
It's huge. And they're going to be probably selling out most weeks because they've been down in League Two for so long.
You can go to Akbar's as well, the first ever Indian restaurant in the UK. That's a good, it's a good restaurant. You can get massive naans that are like fucking that big. It was really good.
I love a naan bread. Reece CCFC, Horvath needs getting rid of. What an awful keeper. Definitely one of the worst I've seen in my lifetime. And that includes watching Tony Warner. Rodri says, opinion on Ramsey's philosophy. Are you impressed with what you've seen? And would you be happy with him taking us in the summer? Ben, I'm happy. I'm impressed with it because he just makes us look professional.
How can you tell what his philosophy is from 3 games?
he had 24 hours to prepare for the
first game as well. I mean, look, I think he's done as well as he could for a footballer who's got no previous experience managing a club. He got us organised and clearly he's made some changes to sort of pull us in. But to say, what are your opinions on his philosophy? I haven't got a fucking clue because I don't think he knows quite. I imagine he goes, I want us to play it forward and sort of be a bit more attacking. But outside of that, not a fucking Scooby.
James C. Roberts said, I felt like I blinked and we were 3-0 down. Bit of a shambles, really. Probability of us keeping Salak after today. 9 goals since Jan. There is no way clubs won't be sniffing around him. UNAD James says, probably the weirdest away end since Leeds in the Cup a few years back, but we needed that gallows humour. Great to speak to Ben in the away end too, but the main question is, if you're in charge of the concourse drinks, what would be the 3 of yours dream lineup? I did speak to you. Nice to speak to you, Ewan. He was stood in front of me for most of the game. I just had to look at his Twitter profile to remember who I spoke to. He was stood in front of me for most of the game. I had a really good chat with him towards the end. My 3 lineup drinks would be Star of Praman, Modelo in bottle form, and a Tiny Rebel Easy Living on tap. Ben, neither of you really drink.
I was just say
I don't really drink at the moment either. This is weird.
The worst 3 that it could be at the moment is you're off the booze. I've not drunk for 3 years. And I don't think Ryan's ever drunk. So I'll go Tango, Pepsi Max Cherry, and a Tango Ice Blast. So you can have the mix.
Nice. Yeah. Ryan?
We were discussing this on a stag do I was on last weekend. What our dream, if we had owned a pub, what our 4 draft beers would be, and I went for, you got to go for a pretty down the line lager. The sort of everyone, you can keep it quite cheap, most people like, and I decided that because I go to a lot of pubs and I go to and I see a lot of people drink. Amstel is a pretty safe bet. Doesn't break the bank.
That is a great shout.
But
It's
like a
very
nice,
good one.
solid, middle of the road lager. An inches cider, because I think they're sort of the cool kids cider these days. After sort of Strongbow have died a death, and the rest are all usually bottled stuff. A Guinness, of course, I think obviously huge at the moment, and then a rotating fourth pub, which would be like Guest, so local stuff. So yeah, there we are. There's my take on it, and loads of Diet Coke.
I'll tell you who has the worst drinks lineup I've ever seen. It's Dagenham and Redbridge. They have 2 alcoholic options on tap. Carling, which is obviously bad. And then their second option is Carling cider, which I didn't even know was still a drink. But they offer it, and you have to drink the Carling cider because the Carling is so bad at Dagenham and Redbridge. It's been a while since I've been there. Probably be a while until we go there again with Cardiff. AB said Bluebird
Never
says
say never.
Well, exactly. The way Salak went off, he looked proper gutted, like we've seen the last of him. Who do you think we've seen the last of? Fans were great today. Kind of covered that off already. Rodri, what's more likely to happen? Positivity from Ryan or winning League One? Thanks for all the podding this season. Kept me sane. Ryan?
I think I've been broadly positive today. I'm quite excited for League One, to be honest. I feel like it's
You have,
been a long time coming, and I'm glad it's all over now. Everything, it's done, isn't it? Let's hopefully will be rock bottom, but we'll see.
Craig Parfit Parry says, what an away day. Absolutely quality. Was worth it. The 13 hours round trip. Absolutely. See you all in League One, you beautiful lot. Richard Endicott said, I was going to nose you boys off with a countdown to 50 points all season. Then I thought it'd look ridiculous if the actual figure wasn't 50 points. Now I have real regret in my eyes and we're still only 6 points from safety. Give Me Caffeine says, do you think the real downward trend started when the club only sold one flavour of fruit shoot? What are you boys' thoughts on fruit shoots? Do you ever, as non-drinkers in pubs, do you ever go for a fruit shoot?
Nah, never.
No.
Diet Coke or tap water for me, mate.
The real purists here. Gareth Dunning, story of our season in the first 17 minutes. Better side, can't score, then concede. Defence at it again. Senior pros, this time Chambers letting us down again. Was fearing a 7 again. Glad it's all over. Time for change. David Charles, what happened in the first half? A good start was disappointing. The way that Ramsey changed formation, used sub works well. It shows what could be done. Couldn't tell we had 10 out there. Hope Reza was watching. Cole and Lawler were standouts. Shame Simic didn't get on. Harvey says, we had just spent the last 3 seasons saying we're just a goal scorer away. We finally get one and everything else falls apart. Painful. What players are you most looking forward to watching in League One? Kwame Poku, Peterborough. Not any of our players. I think he'll be quite good to watch. Ben, anyone you're excited about in League One?
I'm just looking forward to it. Again, it is just seeing the kids come through in it and just how they go. That is everything I'm leaning on for next year. And look at us bringing a bunch of mercenaries now. We're basically going to sign Wrexham's casts off, and that's what's going to happen.
And they're going to sign our casts off. Ryan, anyone you're excited about next season?
Who am I excited about next season? Ooh, Josh Sheehan, because he plays for Wales and I quite like him, although he'll get called a Jack Bastard.
Aaron Collins, he also plays for them, doesn't he?
Yeah, Aaron Collins. Yeah, a couple of the Welsh boys. Be nice to see them. Say hello.
Oh, Lee Evans.
Lee Evans. Yeah, he's at Blackpool.
The comedian.
Yeah. Sweating.
Sven Carr says, first time we've ever been applauded by another fan base after a game. Salak has to stay. Bring on Bradford and the rest of the league. I travelled yesterday with Sven. Good lad. John Tucker, a gorilla versus 2 Bens and a Tom. Who wins? I don't know if you've seen, but this is the question that's been doing the rounds on social media. 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Ben, a gorilla versus me, you, and Tom. What do you reckon? We're going to win?
The gorilla's not breaking a sweat, is he? Let's be honest. Not even fucking trying.
Ryan, you fancy chances against the gorilla?
Nope.
Yeah. Gaz Williams, where's the best place to hide Salak until September the 1st when the window's shut so he can't leave? Probably at the Cardiff City Stadium.
I was going to say in the 18-yard box because our players can't find him half the time anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And Neath Blue says, was I right that I decided against taking my 5-year-old son to his first Cardiff game against West Brom? I didn't want his first game watching us getting relegated, or would that have been a true initiation of supporting Cardiff? Listen, start from the lowest possible point because then it really can't get much worse, although knowing Cardiff City, it probably can get much worse. But if you get relegated and then it all gets better from there, then he's going to have the best time of his life supporting Cardiff City. But I know what you mean.
My first league game was a 4-0 defeat to Cambridge in the 99-2000 season. No, it would have been the year we got relegated to League Two. Was it 1990,
98, 99, wasn't it? That was 100 year.
Yeah, and then we got promoted in 1990, 2000. Yeah. Because my first full season was a promotion, but I saw my first games were in the season that we got relegated. So it bodes well.
One of my earliest memories was Cardiff getting to the playoffs, I think in Division 3 in like 97. And I was buzzing that we just got to the playoffs. I was like, yeah, we're in the playoffs. This is like a proper football club. Didn't win the playoff, didn't get through the playoff. But that was what I was really excited about.
Was that the Northampton one when we lost to Northampton?
It was the Northampton one. It was the Northampton one. I think we drew away and then lost 2-1 at home or something. I need to look it up because I was very young, so I don't really remember.
Yeah.
My first game was a testimonial. Ben? What was
Same, actually. My first game was Carl Dale's testimonial against
Harry Parsons was mine. Ben?
It was the year Ryan's first year as a full-time fan. I'm sure it was like 0-0 when we went up. And I had to leave it.
Scunthorpe.
Yeah.
No, we beat Shrewsbury 3-0 on the last day of the season. And it was my first pitch invasion. And we got promoted away at York when Leo Fortune West scored a hat-trick.
I think they're different years.
Scunthorpe was way before. No,
Scunthorpe was like 99-90.
Yeah, York and Shrewsbury were definitely that year.
Yeah, I think it was. I think I was thinking of a couple of years before. So it's on me.
So there was a game, it was something to do with promotion. We had to leave early because it got a bit rowdy. I was like 8, 9. We left early because it was getting a bit full on. And my old man was like, yeah, we're in the wrong bit for this. So yeah, that was my first game and never looked back since.
Yeah, mine was in 1999. We drew 0-0 with Scunthorpe. I was in the director's box.
Chairman,
I've been bougie ever since. I was chairman at the time. I was doing a better job than anybody else who was in charge. You know what I mean? I think it was Samesh Kumar was in charge at the time. And we stayed in all the players came out into the director's box to celebrate because all the fans were on the pitch. I think we won a signed shirt that day as well, which I still have here. Anyway, fantastic memories. Better than any of the present day. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian. We've managed to rumble on for an hour here, but we're going to keep going. We're going to talk about the statement and then we'll look ahead to the summer. Obviously, the last week, the club put out a statement. The opening line was, "We hear you." Ben, did you felt heard?
It felt very much like Holly Willoughby on this morning.
Yeah. Are you
okay? It felt like that. And I was just like, you condescending twats. No, I don't feel heard. Those chances have still got their jobs. So we're not being heard at all, are we? It was pure lip service.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, they said this is the first time that we'll be out of the championship in 22 years. We're determined to address this at the earliest opportunity. There will be a thorough period of review across several structures and practices. This review has begun and involves the owner, the board, the executive manager, and stakeholders. Ryan, look, you wanted to be on for the relegation. This is your chance to rant about this. Is the main problem with this is, one, it's lip service, as Ben says, but two, those people are the reason this club has failed and shouldn't be involved in any review.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you keep smelling shit, check your shoe, as the old phrase goes. It's just been a series of bad decisions. It's been managed decline. We all knew it was coming. That's why it doesn't even hurt that much. I think like when it was confirmed last weekend, I felt nothing because I think I'd accepted it over the last few years. It would have hurt a lot more if we'd won the 2 games and then lost yesterday, like Luton, for example. Luton had a great run, didn't they? And then they fucked it up on the final day. That would have hurt so much more than this does. It's just, look, the club have to use this now as a catalyst. Something massive has to change, and first and foremost, that would be Ken Chu losing his job. I don't think we're going to be
Ken Chu out. Come on, let's get this going. Let's get Ken Chu out of this club.
I think as like a realistic change that could be made, Ken Chu is the head that has to roll, because Dalman, obviously, I don't think we've seen the back of Dalman because he's got money tied up in the club, and obviously Tan isn't going anywhere unless something massive happens. So at the very least, Ken Chu's head should roll, and then they've got to change everything. There's so much that needs to change from top to bottom in so many aspects of the club. I use the word hundreds of times on this podcast. It's managed decline. We are being ground down. I'm amazed that they haven't asset stripped yet. That might come, like selling the ground. I was having this conversation yesterday. Like,
when you look at all what Derby have done, Sheffield Wednesday have
Yeah.
done in terms of like selling the ground back to themselves, I'm amazed. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it because they don't know they can do that. But I'm amazed it hasn't happened yet.
I know, it's incredible. They have closed that loophole a bit now, haven't they? Because I think that's
after
what
Derby did it, they
Derby and Sheffield Wednesday and stuff all got points deductions or fines, didn't they? So it's been coming for a long time. We're all clear of that. This isn't a shock, is it? This has been a long time coming, and it now has to be the point where we're not going to get new ownership, as much as I'd love that, and as much as, but also, we've spoken about the dangers of new ownership. It has to be the time where the club looks inside and goes, we need to fucking sort ourselves out. And like I said, Ken Chu should be the first on the chopping block. Dalman should take a step back and maybe just work from the background, put a new footballing structure in place, put a new day-to-day. I mean, the people who work at the club must be crying out for someone. So just as an example, not to sort of compare apples and pears, Penabont hired a CEO this season. First person they've had full-time at the club. So the same role as Ken Chu had, and the club's just gone from strength to strength. There's structures in place now that never existed. And I'm sure Penabont at the moment is probably a better organised club behind the scenes than Cardiff City, because there is someone who is doing the job and wants to do the job and is qualified to do the job, doing that job. So
well, I mean, exactly what Bellamy said, wasn't it? In that Penabont Q&A, someone asked, "Would you ever want to be the Cardiff manager?" And he said, "Right now with that structure, you've got more chance of managing Penabont than you have managing Cardiff City." And I think that says it all.
Yeah. No one worth his salt would want to manage us. Like Ramsey said this week, isn't he, that, every club he's ever been at has a director of football. And like you said, Ben, the Catrice are getting relegated with a director of football. There's no saying the director of football would sort it, but it's at least showing that they are trying to do something else.
Yeah.
We've failed by doing the same thing over and over again. So get new people in at a organizational level, get new people in at a football level, bring in a manager who can build a team with the director of football, with a team. It's simple wins that they can do this summer. I'm not asking them to transform the club overnight into like some sort of Welsh Athletic Bilbao like I dream about. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for them to make small changes and at least look that maybe we can salvage whatever this ownership is, because it's been 15 years now, and they took over the year that we lost to Blackpool in the playoff final, and that club there compared to this club now is an absolute fucking it's chalk and cheese. It's chalk and cheese. So
it's shocking considering like the state of it behind there with what was going on with Ridsdale.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You think about we're pining for that. We're pining for a moment where a bloke was sliding paper across the desk to members of staff who were asking for like pay rises with an extra zero more than they were fully expecting. That's sort of like the level of sort of incompetence it was with that. And we're going, oh, that was fun, wasn't it? Let's go back to that.
But it was fun.
Oh, it was class. Fun. It was amazing, but just it's shocking just how wrong they've got it. Like you said, right? It is the simple wins now.
Yeah,
and it's not like there's a lot. I don't really want I'd like it for all to sort of come together and suddenly Vincent Tan sort of it all works out and he starts enjoying it again. Because I feel like if that happens and like everyone's sort of united again, it'll be a lot nicer place for everyone. I don't want to be hating Vincent Tan. I don't want to be hating Mehmet Dalman. I want to enjoy it and not be frustrated with what's going on. And I reckon they feel the same, but they've got to address these changes because they're the only ones that you said that can put this right.
But never.
You don't want to hate Ken Chu. We all want to hate Ken Chu.
He doesn't do anything. He just generally doesn't do anything.
I was going to say, never ever do I want to see fucking Vincent Tan on someone's shoulders on that pitch when we get promoted, whenever that may be again. He does not deserve that praise because he wasn't there when we were relegated, and he shouldn't be there when we're promoted again.
To be fair, both times it was his own security put him on their shoulders.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have bloody. Yeah, honest to God.
Let's talk about Vincent Tan. He released a personal statement, Ben Price.
Did he?
And yeah.
Did he? Did he release it?
Yeah. Somebody released a statement purporting to be from Vincent Tan. And you know how it was so heartfelt, Ben? He didn't sign it off Tan Sri, Vincent Tan. He signed it off Vincent. Vincent. Big Vin.
Vin Dog.
Vin Dog. Vin Dog.
Vin Petrol.
I mean, it's all nonsense. I don't believe he wrote it, yada, yada, yada. I don't believe anything he's really saying. But do you? What did he say? The important thing is that we regain it at the earliest opportunity regarding getting back to Championship. And I would like to take this chance to tell you that I am committed to getting us back. A period of review is being undertaken. A permanent manager and management team will be appointed in the coming weeks as a point of developing strategy. Our board of directors have begun internal discussions with executive management and staff to strategize and plan for the summer and new season. One, do you think we're getting a new management team in the coming weeks? I mean, the coming weeks is an extended period of time. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 8 weeks. Who can say? Also, some weird language in there, isn't there? I would like to take this chance to tell you, you don't have to write that. You are telling us. It's redundant language. Get a better person writing your statements.
Someone's ran it through an AI thing, haven't they? Yeah. And they've said that AI was definitely...
Yeah, it's very likely AI. Ben, we've talked about Vincent Tan. Look, I think... there are a lot of problems with Vincent Tan's ownership, but he is still pumping money into this football club. He is still owner of this football club. So we're going to be stuck with him for a while, no matter what you think of him. Do you really believe this will change anything, what he's saying here? Do you think this will be the catalyst to change and we will have that new management structure in the coming weeks?
I want to. I really want to, just because I'm sick of the negativity. I'm sick of it being shit. But my gut feeling is no. Sort of you look at it and go, not all decisions when it comes to the first team have worked as I'd hoped for us. No shit.
No. Have any worked since Warnock?
Compare this to what, 3 years ago? The last thing we heard from is, why I hear they haven't got a plan. Do you think we haven't got a plan?
Do you think we're idiots?
Yeah. Yeah, I want it to work. I really do. Because like I said, I'm fed up with coming on this podcast every week and sort of just moaning everything that's going on with this club. I like to go, fair play. They've got the absolutely spot on. They're nailing it. And I'm happy with how it's going. Because it's just nicer to do, innit? I've got enough stress in my life. Cardiff City shouldn't be adding to it, but they seemingly do every week. It's just not going to happen, is it? It's empty words until we see what actively comes, and they're actively making these changes. Until we see physical evidence of this change happening, they're just empty words, and that's all they've been for what, since the rebrand. We'll promise you you'll be debt free. We're not debt free. We promise you'll get a new training ground. Well, 12 years on from the rebrand, the groundworks have only just started on that training ground.
And all the talk is they might have to be postponed because of relegation.
It's there's been a lot of empty words and a lot of broken promises from that man, and for him to sort of question it, sort of try and make out like we're not entitled to this, to question is like the way the club's been run, I think is a bit insulting. And for him to strongly push back on, say he doesn't care. Actions speak louder than words. You've been to the stadium. Well, I didn't realize he came last year.
Did he?
Yeah,
he came in November, didn't he? And it was around the time to talk January transfer and like approve budgets for that. He was there for one game.
So I didn't realize that. I forgot about that. But
apologise to Vincent.
I apologise, Vincent, that you came to one game. But
he does commit in his statement, Ben. He says, "I will make every effort to be in Cardiff at the next opportunity that my scheduling allows."
And when he is, we have got to make sure that he is. People show exactly what people think of him, because they get away scot-free. And when he's in that ground, he should be roundly booed and herded out of there.
I don't think he'll get a very nice welcome when he's there. Even if they point him out, I don't think it'll be there's not a chance it's going to happen. But
he won't come for a game, will he? He's going to come. He's going to be around a little bit in the summer. He won't come to a game because he knows what kind of shit he'll get.
Yeah,
and that sums it up really. Like when you look at other clubs and who runs those football clubs, we've got people like Chew and Dalman who are meant to be on the ground in the UK. Like Chew lives and works in London. They don't go to games. They're not seen at games, not even away games that are close to them. Like, what do you think next year, if we're in League One with teams like Leyton Orient, with teams like Wickham, with teams like Reading, they're close games to get to for these people, but they won't be there. They won't show their faces. And that's part of the problem as well. They're cowards as well as cretins. I just can't stand it anymore. It really, this. I will give them some benefit of the doubt because they have to do something this summer to try and address the bollocks that's happened at this football club. But unless they get it right, it's got to be the end for some of these people who are in charge of our football club.
It should be the end for some of them already. It should be
the end. Listen, I'm going to keep saying it. Ken Chew needs to fuck the fuck off this football club. He's the one who's going to get most of my ire, I think, for the next couple of months.
Well, did you hear what he was the one at the award ceremony? And his first words out of his mouth were to thank sponsors.
Yeah.
I mean, just the club, they're tone deaf and don't know how to read the room. I understand you've got to do that sort of formal stuff of thanking sponsors and stuff like that. But we've just been relegated for the first time in 20 odd years. And your first thing to do at an award ceremony in front of these fans, the first time you can publicly address these fans all season is go, cheers, Carlin.
Yeah. Carling are a great sponsor, though. So Visit Malaysia. Thank you, Visit Malaysia. Thank you. Any of you ever want to visit Malaysia? I don't.
No, I've just added or requested Ken Chu to be a link on LinkedIn with me. Just to,
there we go.
I've got him. I've messaged him twice trying to get him on the podcast, and both times he's read the message and ignored it.
Yeah, so I'm going to add him and go, hi, Ken. I'd love for you to lose your job. All the best, Ryan.
I might go to his car sales because his car sales is in West London, isn't it? So I might just turn up, see if I can doorstop him. Good old-fashioned rogue trader style. Get Matt Allwright along with me. Right, I mean, we're prattling on for about an hour and 10 minutes here. Let's look at the odds for the next manager, and then we'll round things off nicely. The kind of odds checker at the moment has Aaron Ramsey with Bet Victor as clear favourite. Gary O'Neill, Steve Cooper, Nathan Jones, Sean Dyche, Robert Edwards, Steven Gerrard are all there as well. Looking further down the list, there's some pretty rogue names in there. Ralph Hasenhüttl, Leighton Baines, Noel Hunt, Darren Moore, Des Buckingham's been mentioned. Ben, if I had to kind of put a gun to your head now and say pick a manager, who do you want?
Hearing that, I want Leighton Baines. Can you imagine what the pre-match playlist will be? Class.
Arctic Monkeys all day.
Yeah. I'm fully on the Leighton Baines train.
All right, Ryan.
I think Gary O'Neill's a good shout. Obviously, Nathan Jones, I think we all want to see it happen at some point, although that's looking less and less likely because we'd have to pay some sort of compensation. I mean, Ramsey won't have it. I think he said that, and he wants to play until the World Cup.
Well, he said after the game yesterday, he said there's a few discussions that need to happen. He's leaving the door slightly open, according to Wales Online.
I feel like
he's had a contract, isn't he? So
yeah, that's what he was saying. I think it was more of I would be up for like being involved with the club. Whenever he was asked about being the manager, it was a flat out no. Yeah, I don't think he wants that. I wouldn't let the bloke go. I wouldn't want to see him go through that.
No, I think. Ben, you mentioned Tony Mowbray last week, so I'd like to see that maybe.
Playlist wouldn't be a go right.
No, I guess not. I mean,
a lot of Neil Diamond, I reckon, with Tony Mowbray.
Do you think?
Yeah,
but he'll bring sweet. He loves sweets.
Fucking revel,
fantastic. He'd love a revel. Further down the list, a couple of rogue names: Luke Williams, Robert Page.
Luke Williams has been linked with Newport this week.
Is he? More about his level.
Well, someone saw him in Newport. I think he still lives in this region, didn't he? Because obviously he was Swansea and then he was with Swindon. I don't know.
He's from kind of Waltham Forest, Chingford kind of way. So maybe I'll see him over the next few weeks. And then the final point, if there's one thing that's going to happen this summer, Ben, is it Yaku Mete going back to Reading?
No, I don't think he will. I think he's that they can't afford him. Just because he's
got a new owner now. You got a new owner now.
I don't know. I don't really care. No, I feel sorry for him in a way. He's been sent away from the club. Like the club has said, don't worry about it. Like he's been given the day. Like just stay away. You're done. Let the bloke be. Like perhaps don't post it on. Well, he didn't even post it on social media, did he? He was.
Someone else posted it.
Yeah. I just fucking leave the bloke alone. It's not worked. There's no need to sort of send him horrible messages on Twitter.
I didn't.
There's other people that have and sent him some really nasty shit as well, which I really don't agree with. So the bloke's just, it didn't work. Fucking just move on. He's not the reason. It's not Yaku's Mate's fault, the fact we're in League One, put it that way.
He tried. He scored against Blackburn, scored against Preston. Didn't really celebrate those goals.
All I will say is if Yaku Mate does go to Reading next season, he will score in both games against us.
I'm betting like a tenner on it at least.
Yeah.
Do that. Ryan, which player are you going to miss the most? Who's going to leave this summer, and why is it Dimi Gutas?
It is. I mean, Dimi's gone. I mean, it's really sad. I've got to know the bloke who runs Maria's Taverna, the Greek restaurant on Cruise Road, a bit. They are catering my wedding. He's actually a boyhood friend of Dimi Gutas, which blew my mind.
That's fantastic.
I thought that Gutas and Siopis used to go there because they were Greek and went to a Greek restaurant. But apparently he walked in and they were like, bloody hell, it's my old mate. Demi Gutas.
That's amazing.
He told me months ago that Gutas was probably the club were playing silly buggers with his contract. So yeah, I think the old Greek experiment is over. So that's a shame. I will be sad to see him go, especially just for that header against Swansea. That distant memory of us beating Swansea. Rinomhota will be gone as well. I think everyone who's had a contract will be gone, other than maybe Ralls and Ramsey. So yeah, Rinomhota, a redemption season in some way. Callum Robinson I won't care about, and Perry and G I won't care about. Wish them absolutely nothing for the future. I don't wish them the worst. I just don't wish them at all.
Nothingness.
Yeah, just crack on and just leave me alone. I think NG in particular has embarrassed himself this season.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Strong last words. Let the record show that I didn't agree with either of that publicly, but I will agree with it privately.
Doesn't agree with the Callum Robinson slander. Should bring up the 442 magazine again, right?
Listen, Callum Robinson, for all the goals he scored this season, hasn't been brilliant, and we've barely seen him this second half of the season. So
he only scored in wins. Did you know that?
Well, up until
Watford, he didn't only score in wins.
No,
all
our wins had a Callum Robinson goal. Sorry, that's the one. Not
that's it. We've made it go for an hour and 16 minutes. I do genuinely have to go in a minute because I'm going out. I have plans away from the podcast, and that is what my summer's going to be. Plans away from the podcast. We'll be back, I think, over the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing our season review. There'll be news coming out of the club. We've got some interviews lined up, so there will be content from us. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I should do that earlier in the podcast. If you are listening via audio, please leave us a 5-star review. Follow our TikTok. There'll be content coming on TikTok. Ben, should I say anything else? Did I say Kofi?
Yeah, do the Kofi stuff. Give us money because shit's getting expensive. Cost of living and all that.
/VFT Ninian. We've had some great people giving us money this season. We'd like more of you doing that. And thank you. Just a genuine, heartfelt thank you to everyone who's listened this season. I do think it's been a funny season in so many ways. And I think this collective cathartic conversation that has happened on this podcast has been enjoyable. It definitely helps us kind of deal with our anger and frustration with this football club. I know I spoke to so many people at Norwich yesterday who said they've really enjoyed listening to us. They've helped Ewan, who commented earlier. He said he listened to it in his car on the way back from away games, and it helps him kind of deal with the anger he's feeling about the game. And I hope that's what it's been for you guys. So thank you ever so much. It's grown. We're getting more people listening than we've ever had before. So I can only say thank you for everyone who does listen, everyone who's paid attention to us at all this season. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back throughout the summer. We'll be back next season. Ryan, thank you for joining us and taking us under your wing at Terrace. Thank you so much for believing in us as a podcast. Ben, thank you for all that you do and continue to do on the podcast. Tom Phillips, fuck off. I'll give Tommy's flowers when he's back next week, and we'll do our season review. So we'll talk then. But thank you ever so much, and we'll be back for our season review next week.
Come on, TNS.